Representative, congratulations. If you don't mind, we'll just start with an introduction, your personal, professional background, and just introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, this is Representative Manny Tenorio Castro. Um, Little background. Prior to 3 weeks ago, I served as the Director of Enrollment Services for the Northern Marianas College. My professional background is I attained a master's in business administration, um, and most of my work experience has been in higher education. So it's I found it using a lot of the business side of my degree in the profession and in education at NMC. Um, I started off attending primary school here in the CNMI, and then after Hopwood Junior High School, I moved to Gresham, Oregon, and finished both high school, undergraduate, and graduate school out in the state of Oregon. I was one of the scholarship recipients that actually came back, and I served my community mostly through higher education for about a decade, little over a decade.
That's interesting. If it's to get a follow up, what brought you home? What made you decide to move home?
So, I, for me, I think those of us that were born in the 80s, we got to see a different side of the CNMI throughout the years. Growing up, I remember a very, um, it was a really nice childhood here. I mean, we had it was like a small town feel, but at the same time, you had some of the big city amenities. Not crazy like Metropolitan, but I remember La Fiesta Mall when it was open, and they brought snow from Japan in a container so the kids can play on Christmas, and it's just some things that maybe the youth nowadays haven't experienced. I remember when 747s used to land here like regularly, Japan Airlines, Korean Airlines, Northwest, and Continental, the hub was here in the CNMI. So tourism and garment industry. I remember moving to the States and shopping at like when I went to the mall, most of the major brands were made in the CNMI, whether it's Abercrombie or Old Navy or, you know, other other brands. So it's pretty cool, like, being out there going to school and then seeing how, despite the size of the CNMI, like we're able to make a global impact in trade. Like we're able to compete at a global scale.
And so you said you came over from NMC. What made you jump? Because being a congressman and working at a college are two different things, two totally different things. So what was the tipping point for you? What made you say yes?
So at NMC, you know, because I also worked at Eastern Oregon University for a brief time, and I really love working at NMC. It's like you're able to see the impact that you're making on a daily basis, improving lives on a daily basis. You see students out in the community, or not even students, just people in the community that are struggling day to day, and then 2 years or 4 years later, you see them, accomplishing their dreams, whether it's on island or off island. So I know several of our students that when they first started in 2009, I know one that's in Alaska as a state trooper. I know others that are nurses, like, um, so as the slogan goes for NMC, you don't have to go far to get far.
And what made you decide to run under the 80 banner?
So, and I'm just gonna go back up because I
Okay.
think I'm still fresh out of NMC, so I
Yes.
have a lot of NMC, passion still there, and that's never gonna go away. Pretty amazing and memorable work, meaningful work that I did with my former colleagues at the college.
Mm.
So the difference between NMC and I could say being here in the what made me decide is being in the front line, and then deciding to run to, affect policy where you can really make change. Like now you have a kind of like an insider aspect of the education system and where the gaps are. No matter, I mean, it can be education, but it can also be like criminal justice, the criminal justice system, behavioral health. There's a big gap. What people need, what people expect, our people, and what the government is able to deliver. And being in this seat, I'm really honored to be in this seat because this is the seat where we can actually close that gap. Like I had one of the former senators. I'm not gonna mention which senator, but senator was saying, "Why are you gonna run?" Because this senator already knew that the government was going downhill financially. It's like this is the worst time to run because you can't really do much with with the limited funding. And I was like, actually, this is the best time to run because you need people that are going to be able to think outside of the box. And what's happening now, it's a curse, but it's a blessing in disguise. Over the years, our government has been bloated and there's a lot of duplication. So how can we, like when I say policy change, like maybe this is a time for some of our people in the government to go back to school and retool and upskill. So when the government is in a position to have, jobs, or the businesses are actually hiring, more people will be ready and they'll be at a level where they can really affect positive results for whether it's the business or it's the government services that are provided.
You're hinting a little bit about some of the policy you want to change. Are there any specific initiatives that you're getting your hands on already here?
Man, it's so prior to taking office, I was actually a consultant to Rep Selena Babauta. So there's some bills that I helped Rep Selena with that didn't make it because of all the times with the whole JGO investigation took a lot of that time. But looking into resurrecting some of those bills. There's also other bills from former legislators that were really good bills, but they're quite controversial. So for example, one of the bills that I wanted to look into was, and it's all in line with our campaign, what we stood for. And in our precinct specifically, the challenge is unemployment, drugs, poverty, and all of this are systemic issues. So for example, that bill that I have legal counsel working on that, and it's a first responder relief act. So I don't know if that's the right title. The title might change, but the intent of this bill is, one, to increase salaries for all law enforcement, because right now, like, no police officer should be making $19,000 a year. That, we're the lowest in the nation, if not second to the lowest. And anytime you have that type of situation, you're compromising. Like there's temptation, right? So if officers are also having to work overtime just to make ends meet. So this bill is actually a pretty comprehensive bill. When the legal counsel took a look at it, it's like 11 bills in one. So it didn't pass that one subject rule, right? So it was to increase salaries for law enforcement, and this is not just police officers. This is even first responders, correction officers, fish and wildlife, anyone that's in charge of enforcing the law, even tax enforcers. So that was one, to increase the salaries for those individuals, but at the same time make sure that the department is accredited. So for example, for police, it'll be the CALIA. I think it's Council for Law Enforcement Agencies. So that's like the federal or national agency that makes sure that police or law enforcement agencies are up to standard with national standards. The legal counsel was like, mentioning to me, why don't, right now the funding, it's not looking good, right? So maybe this is not the time to increase law enforcement salaries. But, my argument is if we just go the CALIA route and get the department accredited, then that opens opportunity for officers to lateral transfer to other police stations. So it's like if they can make like 60,000 in another state, why would they stay? So that's why the increase and the CALIA certification or accreditation is important. In addition, like the bill also ensures that there's before you get into the academy, you meet physical fitness and mental health standards. These are individuals that are going to be carrying guns, and at the same time, we want to make sure like every year the officers are getting the help that they need mentally. There's a lot of trauma that goes with the position. So that's just one.
Right.
It's a very comprehensive bill, and there's others like, for example, the public school system. As a chairman on education, of course, I'm gonna meet with all the stakeholders and find out, what are the challenges. But as the budget goes down, we're gonna have to look at policies to make it work, right? Right now, I know there is a bill former Congresswoman Felicidad Ogurmo tried to introduce, which was to kind of like give more financial autonomy to the different schools. So, for example, like Rhoda would still report to the commissioner, but when it comes to budget, like they're more autonomous. Cagman and Cagman High School, Chacha, San Vicente Elementary, if that was one cluster, they would have their own autonomy. I still need to meet with PSS and see if that would really work for them, but when you look at it, you can see where the money's going. Other things, power is a main concern right now for everyone. It's so expensive here in the CNMI. I mean, my power bill alone went from like, and I'm using less. It was like 135 a month to like 400 something to 500, almost sometimes 600. And it's like our consumption is still the same as it was before. It's just there's that rate, that's ridiculous, right? So maybe we might want to look into CUC as, there's as an organization, is it working the way it's supposed to? Like right now it's all one, right? You have sewer, water, power together. So I know I'm not hooked up to the sewer system, but I'm probably paying for the sewer system. So it's unfair to customers in that situation, which is like, for example, Cagman. There's no sewer system up there, so it's not fair that the residents of Cagman are paying for a sewer system, but yet it's embedded into their utility bill because of all the miscellaneous charges or when the government is not paying for their power bills, it's the consumers that ends up forking that bill.
And so, Representative, you're talking a lot about these initiatives, and your independent coalition has control of the legislature. So, really, it's up to you all to get things passed. How do you see the first few weeks playing out, and under this new administration and your relationship with the other parties?
I think everyone in the legislature, the incumbents and even the new ones like myself, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, it looks like a good team so far, and I know that everyone's gonna be looking at the people's best interest. There's no time for nonsense. I mean, we need to really get down and dirty and try to fix a lot of these issues.
All right. I just wanted to give you the space to close if you want to say anything directly to the people.
I just want to say thank you to all our constituents in Precinct 2 and also all our supporters in the CNMI. A lot of us here at the legislature, we're continuing. We this is just like week 2, but we're really looking at ways to make the most impact given the circumstances that we're in. So if there's ways we can synergize our efforts to really help our people as much as possible, we are gonna do that. And when I say our people, that's not just our residents. It's also the business community out there, small business that are really struggling right now. Um, and I look forward to working with my colleagues. And for those of you out there, if you ever see me or you ever see any of us and you have some concerns, please reach out to us. When we have our community, our open house, our town halls, where we're seeking the public's input, please come and participate. Whether you're for the bill or against it, this is really your legislature. This is the people's house, and your input matters. Thank you, Zansizus Masi.